Yo, what's happening, people? Hope you're all good. We're back on an educational one today. So today is about developing weak body parts, okay? I'm going to run through 4 things that you can do to improve your weak body parts. So let's go. I hope you can see on the camera all this. If not, you're fucked, but I'll just read them out as well as we go. I've got a blue pen. Hopefully you can see this on camera too. I'm going to run through the 4 things that I would do to bring up or develop a weak body part. This is stuff I do with myself, stuff I've done in the past, stuff I've done with clients, stuff I've kind of seen anecdotally that I'll talk about as we go. So first of all, we're going to start on number 1, which is probably the most important, is exercise selection. I've said this to people in the past who I'm coaching. Like, there's some things that just won't feel good for your body. They just won't feel like they work. You might do them fucking 10, 15, 20 times over and you just don't get that connection. If you're feeling like that with an exercise, just drop it out. I would say just don't waste your time on it. But let's say, for example, you're doing a bench press, right? You could be doing a bench press and you could be feeling the movement in your shoulders. You could be holding it close, hitting your triceps. Now, no matter what you do, if you continue doing this, you won't see your chest grow and improve, okay? So what you might want to do is swap it to a dumbbell press. There's one straight swap. So you're swapping a bench press for a dumbbell press. A bench press is fixed like this. A dumbbell press, you can come across your body. It's slightly different, okay? You might get more out of this, but you know what? You might go, you know what? Actually, I don't feel this. It might feel a bit heavy in my shoulders. It doesn't feel good. I'm getting a lot of tension through the upper shoulder. Then we can just go to machine press. And straight away, this one might hit and you feel that more. You start feeling that developing your muscle more. You feel a pump. You feel your chest getting full. You feel it burning out. You feel it getting more fatigued as the set goes on. You're not feeling the fatigue in your triceps, your shoulders. You feel it come through your chest. So this is one area that you would start on, exercise selection, and making sure, pardon me, you're finding something that fits for you, okay? 1 second. I'm not going to edit this. I'm just going to drink some coffee as we go. So that's what we're looking for. We're finding an exercise that works for you, that you can feel, target the muscle that you're working on. The same could be like a lat pull down, for example. You might do a lat pull down, right, at the start of your session. And for whatever reason, you might be really tall, okay? And when you do a lat pull down in your gym, you're too tall and you can't get a good stretch on it. So you might want to switch to a one-armed lat pull down so you can lean a little bit and get into it and hit your lat that way. So exercise selection, it's not just about like chest or whatever. This applies to every single muscle group, every single exercise. So make sure you find what works for you. Second is volume versus frequency, okay? So let's just say, so first of all, volume is how much of it you do in terms of how many reps and sets you're doing through the week. Frequency is how often you're doing it. So volume could be you're doing 20 sets a week. Frequency could be twice a week. Do you get what I'm saying? So let's just say you're doing an old school chest, back, legs, shoulders, arm split. You're training, and then obviously there's 2 rest days in there, let's just say. Over 5 days, over 5 training days, you're training chest once, okay? Now, if you want your chest to grow, you might say, I want to do more frequency and more volume on that muscle group, okay? So you could do push, pull, legs, rest, push, split. So over this 5-day period, now you're doing push once, you're doing push twice. So now you're doing 2 chest sessions in that 1 week. So now you've increased the frequency. You could also do, maybe let's just say you're doing a push, pull, upper, lower, and then chest, for example. You're now training the chest 3 times in 1 week, in one split, in one kind of 5-day training split. Now, you can't do this forever. You can't just go, well, I want my chest to grow, I'll just do it 7 days a week. It won't work like that. If you're doing more frequency, in terms of you're doing it more often, you need to bring your volume down. So whereas if I do a chest day, I might do 6 exercises with 3 working sets each, 18 working sets in total. Let me just pause right there. So in this, I say that volume and frequency. I've done a chest day and said that the volume should be, if you do 6 exercises, 18, but obviously I times it by 3 off the top of my head because I was just drinking loads of coffee. Times it by 2 You do two working sets per exercise, which will be about between 10 and 13. And then it'll go up maybe by 1 or 2 on the other days. But yeah, one session isn't 18 working sets because you pull yourself into the ground. Unless you're like a freak, it's more towards 10 to 12. Glad I cleared that up. If I do push-pull with a second chest session in there, I might do 20 working sets. I might do 10 on the first day, 10 on the second day. And if I do this frequency, this one, I might also do, let's just say 21. I'll do 7, 7 and 7 across that. So you're just increasing the sets, but you're not drastically doing it to a point where your body's fucked. There's a second way you can do this. Let's just say, for example, right, my legs are my weak body part, right? And I need to train my legs twice because they're like fucking pencils and they're just so skinny and the rest of my upper body's massive. Let's just say that, right? So for you to do this, you would need to, let's just say you start Monday with leg day, then you do push, then you do pull, then you've got a rest day, and then you hit legs again, okay? You're doing legs twice in one training cycle. Obviously, you're going to need another rest day and then train legs again, so you're going to be kind of limited here. But let's just say your back is really developed, okay? Your back is massive, it's your best body part, it's your best group, you can see your lats from the front, it's round, it's full, it pops, you don't need to do much to it to make it grow. You could potentially do a push session, a leg session, you could do like a quad session, a hamstring session. You could do another push session, you could do a full leg session, and you could do back. And you could do back every kind of 10 days. Now you're dropping your recovery volume for back training, and you're putting all that extra recovery demand and all that extra kind of attention into your legs where you're training it more often. So all you're doing is you're taking away from one body part in terms of the food you need to recover, the exercise, the recovery demand that's going to place on your body, and you're just shifting it onto another body part, okay? That's one way you could do it. That way obviously isn't fun because if your back's enormous, that means you love training that body part. You don't want to train it less than once a week, do you get what I'm saying? So there's a trade-off with that. There's a famous story, I don't know if it's famous, but there's a story I've seen, right, of Phil Heath, like one of the best Olympia winners, open bodybuilder. And his coach, Haney Rambod, who's regarded as one of the best coaches around. He's coached loads of pros. Coached Chris Bumstead, for example. Or like the people at the top of the game. When Phil Heath was going for one of his Olympia titles, Phil Heath's got huge arms, like the gigantic, and his shoulders weren't as big. And what Henry Rambod told him to do was to not train arms the whole of his prep. So 16 weeks, he didn't train arms, and he trained shoulders extra. When you've got a body part that responds and grows really well, you can get it back to fullness in a short period of time, a couple of sessions, and you can really be popping again. So he went through his whole prep, not training his arms, so he could get his shoulders to be bigger. And obviously he went on to win the Olympia that year, and the best he's ever looked type of thing. So there's two ways to do it. Increasing the frequency is better for a beginner or someone who's intermediate. But when you're pulling down a body part to give the allocation to a weaker body part, that's really advanced. That's for someone who's like a top level bodybuilder who has a phenomenal kind of muscle group, okay? So that's approach number 2. Approach number 3 is training that body part first in a session. So let's just say, for example, my hamstrings are terrible. Like, they're awful, they won't grow, they're tiny, my quads are massive, my hamstrings are small. I would start my leg session on hamstrings. I'll do a hamstring movement, I'll do an RDL, I'd get them popping, I'd get them fired up. The worst thing to do, let me carry on. If you're doing a back session, your biceps are weak, I'd start the back session on biceps. The worst thing people do, not the worst thing, but one of the mistakes people do make is, let's say for example, I want to grow my biceps, I want to grow my hamstrings. People do a full back workout, they do a full leg workout, and then they go, I'll do 2 sets of hamstrings on the end. They're the worst 2 sets. Because you're fatigued, you're at the end, you're mentally checked out, you're ready to go home, you're already thinking about to drive home. So pull them first in your session. Do they don't have to be first, but do them in your session where you feel the most effective. So for me, I want to grow my chest at the moment, so I put my main incline pressing, my main exercise, second or third, because I feel like the first exercise I get into it, I'm not ready to go all out, but I get a good movement. The second exercise, I'm like, right, I'm kind of ready. The third exercise, I've got that good balance of my muscles pumped. I've got a good level of fatigue, but I've still got the energy to push. So like exercise 3 for me is where I would put my weak body part, because that's when I know I can maximise any kind of lifting. So this is another place I would go with when I'm looking to develop a weak body part. Bring that area first, especially if you're doing the volume splits where you're doing chest. Let's say you want to build your chest and now you're doing a push session, upper session and a chest session. On the push session, I wouldn't start with shoulders, I'd start with chest. On the upper session, you're going to be doing some back movements, some shoulder movements, some chest movements. Again, I would put chest at the start and then obviously get that in a good place and then obviously finish on your back stuff and your shoulder stuff, for example. And then the final thing is mixing rep ranges, okay? So to mix your rep ranges, you've got to think kind of outside the box with your training. If you're typically someone who's been doing sets of 8 to 12, sets of 8 to 12, sets of 4 sets of 10, 4 sets of 12, whatever, that could be, all this could be okay, but you just need to mix some rep ranges and just fatigue the body in different ways. Create new stimulus and new fibers that your body's not used to, okay? So that could mean, I'm gonna have to fucking kneel down on this. Let's just say we do sets of 8 to 10s, we do sets of 15 to 20s, and we do like drop sets, cluster sets, fucking intensifiers. So that now you've got multiple rep ranges throughout the week. So you could do on, let's just say we're going back to the 3-day split on the volume split. On the chest day, we could do 8 to 10s, hard and heavy reps. On the upper session, we can do drop sets, cluster sets, and stuff like that. And on the push session, we can do high rep stuff. So that's going to be a combination of building maximum strength. It's going to be a case of getting the muscle pumped and building that kind of fatigue in the muscle and getting as much blood flow in there as possible, which has been proven to gain muscle. And drop sets and cluster sets, so we're going beyond you kind of, you know, the reps that you can do kind of by yourself. So if you do a cluster set, for example, what you're doing is you're breaking a set down. Instead of doing a set of 12, you would do 6 small sets of 4. So you do a set of 4 6 times with like 20-second rest in between. And what you're doing then is you're doing a much heavier weight and you're operating closer to failure for longer in that set. So there's different ways to do it like that. You can do a set of 15, then drop the weight and go again and do another 10 reps. So you're really like driving fatigue into the muscle. So mixing the rep ranges is another massive way that you can improve your weak body parts. So just to recap, pick an exercise and a movement that works for you. Adjust your volume and frequency throughout the week. It's something that you can recover from, but also something that you can, gain on. A good sign that your recovery is in a good place is that you can improve each session, okay? You can get better, your numbers are going up. That's a good indicator that your recovery is in a good position. Train the weak body part first in the session, or not exactly first, but where it feels best for you. So it's going to be the beginning portion of your session somewhere. And the final one is mixing rep ranges. Don't just stick to one rep range. Get used to doing multiple rep ranges and just kind of battering the muscle in different ways. So yeah, hope this helps. If you've got any questions, as always, let me know. Speak to you soon.